Oh, hang on. I've been heckled already before we started. That's okay. Hello, good evening and welcome. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock and you are watching Let's Kill Twitter with me, Julian Hall. This is the show that aims to detox your timeline with the art of conversation. That is no easy task, of course, but thankfully I've got two fantastic guests joining me to help me trawl through Twitter tonight, Rosie Holt and Tarun Mohanbhai. And as ever, I'm joined by another fantastic comedian. It's Sajeela Kershi. Hello.
Hey, how are you doing? Ooh, a week on from our first ever live event of Let's Kill Twitter.
I know. Back in the Zoom room.
Thanks to all those who came. It was a great show. And what do you feel about it? We haven't even discussed how you feel about it.
We've not even had time for our feet to touch the ground, have they? No, it was really nice. It was really good to be in IRL. I mean, we haven't seen each other for however many years it is, which is a bit crazy. And that might have shown us slightly in the introduction, but it got very smooth after that, didn't it? You have to say,
yes,
it did get very smooth. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
We had a great couple of guests last time. We had Patrick Monahan and Eric McElroy. I'm doing so well in the names today, pronunciation. Given that I mispronounced a friend's name on this show, who's present now.
That's okay.
Calling me the wrong name.
we've rescued that now, Sajeela. It's absolutely fine. Yes. So hang on. Let me see. I always have to adjust Facebook, which is very annoying. And actually, that is my cue to say that we are currently streaming live across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Please do give us a subscribe on YouTube. That's where all our previous shows and clips are, and this show will be streaming to as well, of course. And crucially, follow us on Twitter at LKTZoom. If you do that, you can engage with us live during the show. Our Twitter feed is exclusively where you can do that. And for the rest of the time, we'll be posting clips, news of the next show, and just gathering as many tweets as possible to entertain you during the week. And of course, that's where all our guests' tweets get tweeted too. So speaking of guests, Sajeela, I think it's now time to bring Tarun and Rosie into full view into the Zoom room and give them a little bit of introductory hype. Let me introduce Rosie first, and then I'll get you to introduce Tarun. So Rosie Holt, as if you don't already know, is an actor and writer best known for her viral internet videos on Twitter, skewering the political landscape since the pandemic. She attended drama school at LAMDA, where she gained a BA Hons in acting. She was a finalist at the Amuse Moose New Comic, Leicester Square New Comedian and Bath New Act Awards. She's appeared on the Russell Howard Hour on Sky, Ashley Blaker's 6.5 Children on Radio 4, and performed in the critically acclaimed two-hander theatre show The Crown Live with Brendan Murphy, a previous guest on this show. And Tarun.
Tarun Mohanbhai. Hello, Tarun. He's been performing comedy since he turned his back on his dad's offer to run the family business, which was a bustling convenience store in the suburbs of Auckland. And I know this because I went and visited him a couple of years ago. He has been performing as a professional comedian for over 10 years with nominations in the Billy T Award and taking out Best Comedy Show in 2004 at the New Zealand Comedy Festival. He's performed all over the globe, including at Edinburgh, which is where we met, and on the Jongleur circuit in the UK, Yak Yaks and Loveliness in Vancouver, the Improv, the Ice House in the Comedy Store in LA, multiple comedy rooms in Sydney and all over New Zealand. He's a really actually sought after comic in New Zealand on the professional circuit and a seasoned corporate comic. He's also performed at the Jakarta Comedy Festival, Melbourne, International Comedy Festival, Durban Comedy Festival, and in Malaysia and Singapore. Welcome to Let's Kill Twitter, Tarun. Good to have you here, and I've not seen you for years either. How are you guys?
I'm good. So this Twitter, what is it?
So there's a massive contrast between our guests today in terms of Twitter usage, and I thought it was good for balance to have both on. Do you want to tell us, Julian, about Rosie's presence, and then we'll talk about
let's just have a look at everyone's individual. So across the ticking across the screen is everyone's handle and all the rest of it, so people know where to follow you. But let's go to Rosie's account here. Wow, it's 195.1k followers, Rosie. That is pretty impressive, I have to say. Do you want me to do the direct contrast with Tarun now? Let's do that now. Tarun, 787 followers. I think that might have gone down since you started doing the show. What's happening? No.
You know what? You know what? That's quite a lot of people for me. Like, oh crikey, where did I go?
You've unfollowed yourself. Congratulations.
No. Because Are you guys using your phone or your computer?
Computer. It's all business. It's all business this end.
Yeah. So I've got a phone, and obviously notifications keep coming. I try to sweep them away, and then I sweep that. This is how technologically advanced I am.
I mean, this is the thing, it's that relationship with Twitter. Everyone has a different one. And I think it's important to have on this show those who don't engage as well as with Twitter and find out why. I mean, obviously, that's not it's a good amount, but not necessarily if you're a performer in the UK. And I can't speak because I haven't exactly got many, and I don't engage as much as Twitter as I should do, perhaps. But what is the reason, Tarun? I mean, I know you told me a great story about this. So do you want to share that story of how you were kicked off? And
here's the thing. I joined years ago, and then I don't know what it was. It was something about you had to type 40 characters or something, and then you could spill your beans. And I just had nothing to say, and I just felt like no one cared what I had to say. So I was just like, I gave up. I don't like reading books, so I wasn't going to start writing books on platforms. You know, I just like, what am I doing? Like, and it just felt, for me, it just wasn't the right platform. It's not even I just don't know. I just like to talk to people. I ring up people and talk to them.
I was going to say, this makes you like a big fan of WhatsApp.
It's man, you know what? I'm in so many WhatsApp chat groups as well from family, and they're all into sports. I hate sports. So they're talking about sports and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I'm just concerned where we're going to have dinner on Friday night and what time I need to be there. Like, I don't really care so much for, like, people are going on about football and Manchester, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And someone said something yesterday about some football player. Wayne Rooney. Is he well known?
Yes.
As a footballer? Supposedly, they're talking about. Yeah, in my chat group, they're talking about him, and I'm like, who is this guy? And they're like, oh, he plays football. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, just, I don't know how to leave this group now. I've been in it too long.
It should
just
be
really
bad.
And
to note that Tarun is actually live from Auckland right now. And what time is it there? It's obviously 8:07 here in the evening. What time is it in?
So it's 9:07 in the morning.
9:07 in the morning. So
total respect.
Well to get you out of bed.
Respect to you, definitely.
So, no, I've been up for hours. Like, I've been up since about 5 o'clock. I mean, ever since my work in the corner shop, those hours have stuck with me. So they haven't lost those hours yet. So it's kind of stuffed my whole sleeping clock.
Fantastic stuff. Well, now, Rosie, you are very immersed in the Twitter sphere. And I mean, do you have a kind of, I know you're obviously very active on Insta as well. Do you have a kind of preference of the two?
Yeah, no, I prefer, well, Instagram is kinder. I think everyone's nicer there. But I find Twitter more interesting. And the problem is, I find Instagram, I just end up spending hours and hours of my time looking at photos of people, of celebrities in the 2000s, because Instagram decides what you like to look at, and then it goes, here's more of it. And so you just spend hours and hours going through these photos that Instagram's suggesting to you, and it's a slippery slope. I just see lots of pictures of Lindsay Lohan and what she's wearing, and at Twitter, at least I feel like I'm engaging my brain a bit.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, well, it certainly engaged you. I mean, obviously, I should have said at the start that we're obviously honoured to have our first MP on the show, virtually. So you've obviously been mistaken for an MP because of the videos that you do, particularly over the Partygate stuff. A few people were taken in, which says an awful lot about A, your acting skills, and B, the standard of MPs that we've got currently, or their anonymity. And you've also had flack from sort of both left and right, and you did tweet very interestingly about that in terms of where it was most vociferously felt. So, well, there's two things there really. If you take us to the being mistaken for an MP, how's that going? Still happening, I assume.
Yeah, it's really funny. I mean, the last video I had two actual MPs call me out and say I was a terrible MP. which
Oh,
I found
wow.
really funny.
You've lost the whip.
I replied to one of them saying, "Well, I've never seen you around Parliament, so how do I even know that you're an actual MP?"
Can we ask which party these MPs were that were saying that they think you're a terrible MP?
One was Labour and one was SNP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't really bode well for our politics at all.
No.
Just a quick Google would so surely have like told them. That's hilarious.
So, I mentioned there that there was, and I can't remember which tweet it was for, but you had sort of flack left and right for a particular tweet, and you were sort of describing how it was sort of particularly vicious on the left. And I know that, I mean, Sajeela, you've had some experience of that too. What can you sort of take us back and remind us what was going on there?
Do you know, it was even, I replied to someone's tweet who they were being critical about Jeremy Corbyn, I think. And I sort of, I replied in support. I can't remember what I said, but it's not the first time I've been attacked by the left. And I find it really intense because the right always troll me, but they're quite straightforward about it. They kind of, say, "Oh, you're a unfunny lefty loon," and then they'll say something misogynistic, which is actually kind of dealiable. Dealiable isn't a word.
Delia Smith.
Delia Smith, and then it's Delia.
Yeah.
Where are you? Yeah.
But the left, when I've been trolled by the far left, it's really vicious because they kind of do a bit of a character assassination. So they really go for it, and then they write that I'm racist or homophobic, and in some cases, I think when I tweeted then, I was getting people just making up stuff about me. They were saying I wrote for the Daily Mail and I'd made a racist video about Diane Abbott, and all these things that just hadn't happened. And then there'd be 50 people liking these tweets that weren't true. So it's just also because I am left wing, so I think it's a bit more
it hits home.
It's
a bit
very
more.
interesting, very interesting because as Julian said, sorry Julian, I didn't mean to.
No, go for it.
No, because I've had a similar thing. I dared to take a gig with GB News, and I kind of knew what I was doing, and I've had like very well-meaning friends sort of say, "You don't know they're racist." I'm like, look, really, I literally have had every ism in my life. I kind of know where they are and what it is. But it was actually coming from the left and their own, own community, I suppose, of comedians and artists, which I was really shocked by because I expected it from the right. I was like, oh yeah, because the thing. So that's kind of obvious racism I've had. Obviously the way she looks, or why do we, where does she come from? Which translate is like, we go back home. And also I know all of that. I can deal with that kind of right. What I don't understand is it's like why would I change my politics because I've chosen to do something? I'm still a lefty, and I have to wear red just to show you that I'm a lefty, but you're still telling me what I think and what I feel, and obviously I'm a sellout because now I'm a raging racist, obviously. So it's just interesting, and I don't know, well, how have you has that changed where you sit on the political kind of scale? Does that make a difference having that vicious attack from the left?
I don't think it's changed where I am politically, but I think it definitely I think even before, because I think the first time I got attacked by the left, I think before that I was kind of waiting for it to happen because I thought I had a lot of portion of very left-wing people following me who I could see were quite unforgiving of anyone with slightly different views, and I thought, God, it's only a matter of time they realise that I'm not I don't agree with them on everything. And so the first time it happened, I was just waiting for it. And it was so vicious. I had a proper pile on. This was about a year and a half ago. And since then, they kind of re-pop up. I think, I don't think it's changed where I am politically, but I think it does make me think. I don't know. It makes me go, oh, the right are nicer, which I don't believe it. Then you say these things and people go, you can't say that. And I go, well, I don't know, but on
Well, you can
Twitter,
kind of see Rosie
I'm more scared of the left.
Sorry, yeah, you can see Rosie Duffield, why she might be tempted by the right when she doesn't feel supported by her own party,
Well,
kind of like.
Also, I think I think that's what happens is people get boxed into a corner if they say something that their tribe doesn't agree with, and then you've got people on the right going, "Hey, we'll listen to your views, and while you're sharing them, we've got some more that we'd like to share with you." And
very interesting. I could talk to you
dangerous
about that. I really could, but I think for balance, we should ask Tarun what it's like in New Zealand, because he's with, obviously your prime minister's now getting a bit of slack, even for being a nice person. Everyone's kind of having a pop at her. I mean, what is it like to be on the left and right in New Zealand?
I think it's, at the moment, they've got protests going on outside Parliament. So people are obviously protesting the mandate. Have you guys still got a mandate there at the moment, or no, of any sort?
In terms of...
We've got the whole...
Yeah.
At the moment, we've got obviously the vaccine mandate, which means people have to be vaccinated. People are losing their jobs if they're not vaccinated, which is quite interesting. And people are going onto the lawns of Parliament saying that, this isn't right. And, I understand where they come from. It's fine. Everyone's, my body, my choice kind of situation. But obviously there's this massive division in society now, and that seems to be the big thing at the moment. But I just don't get involved. I'm just too busy watching Netflix. Yeah, I'm really sorry.
Is that another reason why you avoid
other streaming services are available?
No, I just feel like I just can't be bothered engaging with people that I don't really. That's just who I am, though. Like, I just feel information is power, and the more information you give to people, the more power they have over us. And for me, it's just like, I don't even know who you are. Honestly, when I post something and then all of a sudden there'll be arguments that break out afterwards, I just don't engage. I just laugh at the people fighting amongst each other. I just find it hilarious. I just think, wow, have you not got... What are you doing?
You do kind of have an anti, because you're quite present with Rosie, so she's prefers Instagram, and you are quite proficient on Instagram because you're always posting quite funny. Like, people post their food, you sort of deconstruct that, and you just post a photo of an empty plate. You just had the dinner that you've had.
Yeah.
I just had fish and chips, and then empty plates, loads and loads of empty plates. So I quite I see where you're coming from, and slightly thing. But anyway, Julian, we should.
We should, shouldn't we? So, I mean, despite all of that, Tarun has managed to choose 5 tweets. Although we have had the first refusal from someone. What we do is we put out a tweet before the show, an hour before, and we tag everyone that's been selected in terms of their tweets rather than as people. And someone's actually said, no, I don't want to be discussed. So it's like, well, don't have 76,000 followers then and tweet is what I would suggest. So we'll skip over that one.
Tarun's getting some controversy before he's only been on here for one day.
Well, here's the thing. I only came back on because everyone was talking about what Trump was tweeting a few years ago, and I was like, oh, this sounds exciting. I got kicked off anyway for the first time because I decided to go on random dating websites, and then they hacked my account and they kicked me off Twitter. And I was like, oh, that's fine. I don't care. I never used it anyway. And then when Trump came and everyone was talking about him, I thought, let's go in and see what he's saying. And then, I don't know about you guys over there, but in New Zealand, everything that he was tweeting was on the news anyway. So I was like, oh, why am I on Twitter? Like, it's just on the 6 o'clock. I don't need to go into Twitter. I'll just watch the news. I watch my Facebook feed. Everyone's posting it. I'm like, I don't really need to go in and engage. And for me, I don't know. All of social media for me is a bit weary. Like, I remember once I posted something on, is it TikTok? Remember that one? And I still do stuff every so often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in the first lockdown, I posted something on it, and then I went back 4 months later because I thought, my friend goes, oh, we should use it, and I go, I did post something on it in that first lockdown. Go back and had 40,000 views. I didn't follow it up like I should have, right? I didn't. I was just like, oh, okay, probably should have done something with it. Probably should have rolled with it, but I was too busy watching the Tiger King, right? In that first lockdown, and I got sidetracked. And then I thought, you know what? This Madman show, that's 10 series. I could do a bit of that.
I totally want to do a podcast on box sets now, but don't distract me. Loving the Mork and Mindy t-shirt, by the way. It is weird about Trump because, I mean, although you Twitter, I never followed him on Twitter, but I never had to because he was obviously being constantly retweeted.
It was on the news.
Exactly. Well, and it was on the news. Yeah. But you have chosen, speaking of Donald Trump, you've chosen one of his formerly best buds, Piers Morgan. Do you want to read this tweet out, Tarun, if that's okay, and then we'll get into it.
Oh. Okay, well, I've got to find it.
Can you see it on the share screen? And if you don't, I'll read it out for you.
let me, because I've got my little thing here, which I can access it. I just need to know which one it was. Wait a minute.
No, it says Martin.
Hello, Martin, star fan of the show,
fan.
super fan of the show.
I found this store that makes all these really cool retro shirts. Damn.
I'll read it, Tarun. It's fine. I'll read it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, cool.
So this is Piers Morgan's tweet from the 11th.
Oh no, got it.
Right.
So as the world, here we go. So as the world braces for imminent war in the Ukraine, the British Prime Minister will be filing out a lengthy police questionnaire about how many times he attended illicit parties and broke his own COVID laws. What a shameful moment for our country. I just think it's great. Hey, I just love it. I quite like it that, you know, I know Boris is who he is, but the fact that he's just having parties and breaking all the rules, I just thought it's great. I mean, and he didn't do it once. He did it multiple times. I'm like, I don't know how people found out, to be brutally honest. But then again, that's the thing, right? When you're having a party with multiple people, it's going to get out. It eventually got out with that dude, whatever his name was.
Dominic Cummings.
Yeah, and that lady that's in jail.
Who's the lady?
You mean that you're talking about? Hang on, have we segued to Ghislaine Maxwell? Quick, suddenly.
Yeah, that's it. Her.
She wasn't in the Rose Garden, was she?
But they invited too many people to the island, and too many people talked about it. And that's where the more people that talk about something, if you're going to have a party, you only want to invite one. That's it. It's not a party anymore, and then you stay within the realms. But if you're going to have a party when you're not meant to have a party, it's pretty hard to keep it a secret in 2022 when there's social media, cameras, CCTV. Like there's CCTV outside his house all day, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I mean, you know, there are no.
I mean, unless there's an underground tunnel that goes from, I don't know, Embankment straight up to wherever his house is at, Downing Street. Everyone's going to know.
Can I just ask, whilst our Prime Minister was having parties, what about yours?
Yeah.
Jacinda, and you know, would she be having illegal lockdown parties, do you think? I mean, was she... Because, you know, obviously I mean, when I came over, I was like, oh my God, you're so lucky to have her. But there is a bit of a backlash against her now at the moment. Yeah. As of course there always is when someone's being nice.
I don't think so. New Zealand's too small. Everyone gets kind of,
Can you use the mic, please? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, she definitely wasn't having parties. Well, not that we're aware of. Not that we're
closing down parties surely is more likely.
Yeah.
I mean,
we had a lot of closing down parties. She's got a little small child, so it's hard to find a babysitter when you can't bring someone else into your bubble, right?
Well, this is true, yeah.
I love that you're still talking about bubbles. Bubbles died long ago in this country. What about you, Rosie? What you know, have you got any comments on this? I mean, obviously this is on the 11th of the 2nd, so it's not that old that Piers Morgan is tweeting about this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a lot of, we've heard this quite a lot now, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. By the way, can you guys hear me? Yeah,
can hear you. Yeah, there's still a little bit of stalling, but it's not bad.
I've been trying to plug it. I've been trying to like.
I noticed that. It looked like this giant padlock.
I don't think I've succeeded.
I was thinking, what's she doing with the giant padlock?
Yeah, it's just padlocking
Yeah.
things. No, I agree. I think this whole saga is amazing with this government. I mean that. It wasn't just one or two parties. It's loads. The whole party's a mess though, because they delivered this questionnaire. I think it was a few days before Cressida Dick, head of Metropolitan Police, resigned. So the whole relationship with the government and the police anyway is really kind of under scrutiny, and I just think I mean, it's very entertaining in a really sad, depressing, angry way, which is one way of looking at it.
It certainly is.
I think he still doesn't get, does he, that Boris, he just had not read the mood of the nation. He doesn't get why a party could be why it's so painful for certain people. It's just parties. And even, I've had a lot of people saying, oh, for goodness sake, we're over Partygate, aren't we? What's the big deal? Yeah, I mean, okay, there are bigger things to look at, but we can't forget that it's a massive, it's just such a horrible way to treat citizens of this country. to treat us like idiots.
Yeah.
Well,
I suppose, you know, we were under the most draconian rules in peacetime Britain ever, and he made those rules. And you know, as everyone knows, everyone missed things, but people missed funerals and all sorts of things. So I think it just shows a lot of contempt for the British public. And one thing I've noticed actually is, I think both the right and the left are kind of united on this.
Yes.
Often when I've done videos on certain issues, you know, like the right might be angry or whatever, but this one, the right and left both seem to go, no, this is not good. This is really bad. And you've got lots of Conservative MPs speaking out and are angry. And, you know, I wonder if this is the beginning of the end for him. But he does seem to cling on.
It's about, from a Conservative perspective, it is about, you know, ineptitude. At the end of the day, you know, things that Conservatives value are management skills. And this government isn't showing many management skills. Rosie, you've picked a tweet that we should segue to immediately because it's all about Dom Cummings, and let's face it, he is quite at the centre of this. And this is a kind of burn that I would have so loved to have given this burn. It's very simply, I don't really even need to read it out, but it's Dominic Cummings' tweet from last week saying there's way better pics than the ones floating around, including of the flat. And Josh Berry, comedian Josh Berry, is XOXO Gossip Girl, and that is just like, I mean, that puts Cummings in his place as well. I mean, he's the kind, you know.
What I think Cummings is trying to sort of make himself out to be this sort of avenging angel, and actually he is just Gossip Girl. He's sort of angry and bitter, and writing all his grievances on Twitter, which is both thrilling and fascinating and ridiculous. So I think Josh's tweet really summed it up, really.
Oh, totally.
I love it because in just that XOXO Gossip Girl, we just kind of completely get, you know, because you're right. He is just a little vicious little bitch, isn't he? Is he
season?
That's exactly what he is.
Is he season 1? Is he the first version of Gossip Girl rather than the second version? I've not seen the second version yet.
I've not seen the new version.
Oh, good.
I feel too old watching it.
Okay, that's fine.
My nieces are really into that Gossip Girl. They love it. I tell them not to give me spoilers.
I mean, what was
Tarun,
that?
familiar with Gossip Girl? And the reference here?
Yeah,
the
TV show.
Yeah,
I know of it, but yeah, I'm not quite sure of this guy.
Again, you mentioned Dominic Cummings earlier, so this is the fact that Dominic Cummings has been slowly leaking, and it must just be him, that all the leaks of the parties and stuff. He's been, you know, like little in the background, dropping all these.
No, totally. He's working to. I mean, even one of the first MPs, Tory MPs, to go against Boris, Andrew Bridgen, was saying that he's working to a grid, and it totally is. I'm just wondering though. I mean, that is being spread over such a long period of time. Whether it's intended to go, it's slowed down because there's a Met Police investigation. We've also got elections in May. I mean, one assumes that. I mean, he said there's way better picks.
Like
there's more to come.
Series of Gossip Girl. You know, all the seasons, it's been slowed down, spread out to give us like little teasers now and again. I don't know. I think this is going to run and run. We're not quite done with it. What do you think? Sorry, Rosie.
Yeah. I think it's going to keep going on. I mean, what amount of parties are we going to get to?
Yeah, we should have a sweepstake. We should totally have a sweepstake on that, I have to say.
Well, what have we got next?
Well, we'll stay on burns. Let's go sort of Rosie back to Tarun. Let's start with Rosie. You've got this tweet here. Do you want to sort of read it out and explain it for us?
Yeah, so this guy had tweeted, please know if you're someone who brings a book to the bar, nobody likes you. And I think people got quite angry at this, with a lot of women pointing out that, you know, sometimes they just wanted to read a book with a glass of wine at the bar. And then someone had replied to him saying, how much of your life, expressed as a percentage, have you spent gesturing for women to take out their earbuds? Sorry, I cocked up that reading. But I think it just made me laugh, because of course he's that guy. He is that guy, because every woman knows when when you've had your earphones on. I had it once when I was on a jog, and there's some guy who's like, excuse me, and they're kind of doing this for you to take their earphones on, and they're just interrupting your time. And this guy is clearly someone who just goes around interrupting women's time, and their presents were just trying to read their Jilly Cooper at the bar with a glass of Pinot.
Well, the original tweet's from Jeremy Snyder, who seems to be some kind of lifestyle writer in the States, from what I've just quickly looked at. And it's Raf, who's Parfxis is his handle. One of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen on this site. Yeah, no, it is a shame to sort of be having a downer on the book in a restaurant. That's been a good friend to me.
And God forbid a woman should be intelligent enough to be reading rather than focusing on, on the men that come in the bar, like eyeing up all the totty, which is what a man does. A man will just look behind his book and look at the totty. Any comments, Tarun Mohanbhai, on this? What are your thoughts?
Serious, Tarun, she's used your full name. Now she knows it. It's like all the time.
No, I've always called him Tarun Mohanbhai, but he's never corrected me. For years, I didn't know he thought I was joking. I thought that was his name. We've been known each other for a long time, and I've obviously been getting his name wrong. Go on, Tarun.
About Dan Cummings, you saying?
No.
We're in a new tweet now, darling.
Oh. Oh, sorry. Which tweet we had again?
So we've got.
See how?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah. No, I can't. That's the thing. I can't see the tweet. Sorry. I'm really
so glad we got you for this.
Me too. Me too. Like, I'm literally.
So it's on.
I can see it.
Okay.
I see it now. I see
like,
it.
yeah,
Okay, brilliant. One of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen on this site. Is that the one?
That's the one.
Yeah.
So listeners, he has tuned in first thing in the morning, all the way.
It's true. It's still the morning.
No, not that. No. I'm just not technologically advanced. That's
Go on, darling.
Okay, so one of the most brutal KOs I've ever seen. Well, what is that in relation to?
Oh, it's just oh no, I haven't got the will to live and explain it again. So basically, this first tweet from Jeremy Snyder is like, it's basically berating someone who reads a book at a bar as a kind of loser. I mean, it's not really that far off the Bill Hicks "what are you reading for" joke, but in a true life situation. Would you essentially, what we need to know is, would you enjoy reading a book at the bar when you've got your dinner at Friday night and you're on your own and waiting for people? Is that cool for you to read a book at the bar?
Would I read a book?
Yeah. Well, not the whole book.
It's not good for me to read. Yeah, I know. And I think I made it kind of. I think I alluded to the fact that I don't really like reading books anyway. So if I was to read one at a bar, the people around me would have to be exceptionally boring.
That's a point. That is a point. But don't you think a book, it's actually a great distraction? Like, it's a great way to, like, I want to be not just alone, but also I don't want to look like I'm not doing anything. I've got something to kind of focus, not just book, like a newspaper. You need something if you're going to go and eat on your own or do something on your own.
Yeah. I think that's what you noticed years ago, but I just feel everyone now, you go into a venue and everyone's just reading their phones.
Oh, that's true.
Or whether it be an article or something. Like the fact that someone's reading a book is very retro in a bar. Like, do they not have a phone?
Bloody hipsters.
Are we more attracted to people who read books then? Because if they're reading a book instead of your phone,
right? It's very cool. Like, it's very cool to read a book. Like, I reckon taking something that's a little bit like that would, like, I reckon if you read The Cat in the Hat in a pub, that would say a lot.
I think that would. Oh God, am I really loud there?
No.
No, just a touchdown maybe. I don't know. So actually, Tarun, let's go to one of your tweets. Let's swing back to serious here.
Let's not.
No, let's do this. Let's do this energy. It's very on topic. Dan Price. Dan
Price? Okay, so the thing with me is I've sent you the 5 links. Actually, they show up on the screen like you said. Okay, here we go. Exxon. I just discovered this too. Sorry, guys. It's all coming together.
How many screens have you got there?
Just the one. Well, I've been reading them off my tablet to the side, but I'm reading it off the links I sent you, and I go, which link is which? But now I've realised it's within the conversation. Okay, ExxonMobil, highest profit in 7 years. Chevron, highest profit in 7 years. Shell, highest profit in 7 years. It's just about the price of fuel. I don't know what the price of fuel is like in the UK. Is it off the hook at the moment?
Well, we're all waiting for our energy bills to go insane, basically. So
yeah, and it's just insane. Like, it's weird because we're at a point in time where I'd say maybe 10 to 15% of the world are probably now either using electric or hybrid cars. So the fuel consumption's definitely gone down. Or maybe it hasn't, I don't know. But why has the price of petrol gone up? Because it makes no sense. Like, there's still a lot of petrol out there. But I just feel like they're trying to cash in. This is their last ability to cash in before we stop using it altogether.
yeah, I'd gone straight to household bills then, but I'd forgotten about drivers because I'm not a driver, so I'm just like completely.
Oh.
Yeah. But
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Tarun, we did have in the UK a few months ago. There were like queues,
Yeah.
up the up the motorway for people trying to get petrol because there was petrol shortage. Doesn't it?
Yes.
I
No, I
didn't
think
imagine
Yeah, but that was
it wasn't,
yeah.
no, your truck drivers were on strike. I think that's what caused your petrol shortage. It wasn't so much the fuel itself; it was the fact that
That's right.
no one wanted to take it to the gas station.
But then it coincided with
Well, we still
there
got
was no croissants anywhere, and I was really, really angry about that because I don't drive, and I didn't.
And there was
and I was just like, no fucking croissants. I can't deal with it.
And we're
nothing when they came to the petrol.
And a year ago, remember that boat that got stuck in that canal?
green something. Oh, yeah.
Something so that kind of ruined the petrol flow as well for you guys in Europe.
Yeah, no, I don't forget the Brexit queues. I mean, they're still ongoing as well. I mean, Dover is a car park at the moment, or Kent is a car park.
Rosie, do you drive?
No. My family have got a history of they're all really terrible drivers, and so I was always really scared to ever try because there was a history of terrible drivers in my family. So as a result, I don't drive.
Yeah, nor do we, because obviously in the UK, especially London, we can get around by tubes and stuff. Of course, in Auckland, as I remember.
Yeah, in London you don't need.
So Tarun, superfan Martin has just suggested that this is your current console layout at the moment. It might be why it's getting a little bit.
Can you see that, Tarun?
What?
It's hilarious. It's funny. You can see his tweet.
So,
if you follow him, Martin, then.
That's very much.
Tarun 5.
It's not even that good. I wish it was that good.
Henceforth known.
So what have we got? We're gonna have another tweet. We've got a couple of ones in the spare. If we run.
No. We'll be fine. Yeah. Okay. So we've done right. Okay. We've done petrol prices. Let's have a look. Right. Well, if we've done petrol, let's go to housing. So this is from Sean Burke, who is fantastic. Let's play the video.
Daddy, we should be.
This week we're helping our clients get on the property ladder, despite the fact it's covered in grease like some sort of Home Alone-esque booby trap.
It's very competitive out there, but with a few sacrifices and some money from Mummy and Daddy, we should be well on our way.
Let's see what we can do. Joe is looking for somewhere affordable and within commuting distance of London, despite the fact no such place exists.
So Joe, what are your expectations?
Literally nothing. I only agreed to come on the show because the producer offered to pay my energy bills for the month.
So money's a concern.
Have you thought about cancelling your Netflix subscription?
Yes, but just because they cancelled Glow.
If you did, you could save enough for a flat.
Really?
Sorry, flat white.
Oh, that makes more sense.
We've had to go further afield, but we think we may have found just the right place for Joe.
So, what do you think?
But it's a tree.
That's within commuting distance.
What's the commute?
7 hours.
I was kind of hoping for something that was a bit more of a building.
Oh!
That's going to be difficult with your current budget.
Have you considered a loan from your parents?
What's your father's title?
Dad, old fella?
Perfect.
Yeah, but he has his own mortgage to pay in Ireland.
You could just move back there then. What's the market like in Ireland? Surely better than this.
Well, that's another happy customer.
Join us next time when we see how many millennials we can fit in a shed.
Brilliant stuff. Rosie, tell us all about Sean and obviously the Kirstie Allsopp story this has come from. Hang on. Yes, go on.
Oh, it's playing again. No, Sean does it just really funny, and don't follow him. You should, because he's reliably brilliant. This particular video is referring to Kirstie Allsopp, who last week gave an interview for the Sunday Times.
Yeah,
I might have got that wrong. Where she basically said that some people cancelled their Netflix subscription and stopped spending it on coffees and things, then they could buy a house too. And she first house and got a bit of help from her parents, but you know, and everyone was very cross. And then she got very defensive with she was writing back to people going, "Stop being mean. I've been mischaracterized by the media." But she did say all that, so not that.
Kirstie Allsopp getting defensive? No, never.
It's fair to say that has happened before.
Can I just ask a question? Like, how much is your Netflix subscription in the UK? Like, over here, it's $18. Is it 40,000 a month? And is that how you're going to afford a house if you stop it?
I couldn't even buy a doll's house if I gave up lattes and Netflix, because I share my son's Netflix. So, you know, I couldn't afford a doll's house.
No,
but they're really strict here as well. Banks are ridiculously strict. They're asking people really personal questions. They're even asking people, what is your partner thinking of getting pregnant? They literally ask them questions like that, and they go, possibly, and they go, well, that's going to affect you getting a mortgage, because then your income's going to be kind of divided, and it's pretty full on at the moment to get a mortgage.
Wow.
It's really hard. It's really brutal. Like, they go through, and my problem is with some of my friends, she'll borrow money off me, I would send it back, but I always send it back with a quirky little thing like thanks for the blowy or something like that, right? And she wanted to extend her mortgage, but she had about 30 of these in her statement. That is very awkward to mention to the bank.
Do you own your own property, Tarun?
No, I don't need to.
Because you live with your parents?
I live.
He saved on reading books, so that's what it is.
No, I don't.
I'm saved on reading books.
No, I don't. I wish I did, though. It's unaffordable right now. It's just stupid. So I'm just like living with my buddy. It's good times, you know. What can you do? I mean, do you guys obviously all own homes?
No, I don't. What about you, Rosie?
No.
That's a no from the panel. So the stats.
I think it's a good thing, isn't it? I think especially now. Do we think it's a good thing? Would you like to own a property? Because I don't think now. I'm not bothered. I used to sort of think that was important when I was young, but now
Well, I'd love to put a hook in the wall so I could put a calendar up I enjoy, maybe.
I'd
Wouldn't
like
you
to
all
be
like
able
to
to
do
say
that?
I'm a home owner.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to put blue tack up, wouldn't it? You know, I mean, and not feel bad about it.
Like, I'd love to punch a hole in the wall and not worry about what the repercussions are
The
going to be.
landlord's gonna say.
What the landlord's going to say? Wouldn't that be fun?
Well, I think they worked out that the time that Kirstie Allsopp bought her house, that the average wage was the average house price was 2.5 times your salary, whereas now it's more like 13.5 times your salary. Now, of course, mortgage banks will give you a bigger mortgage, but I mean, they're still like a lot of places are way out of reach, and it just. And this is weird because you know the whole thing about the Tories coming to power in '79 was all about owning your own home, and that was all done off the back of buying up council housing stock, which has now disappeared in terms of like there's no other. Yeah, they didn't replace it, they didn't ring fence it, and all the rest of it, and there's the legacy from that. And some people say that, and people on the right will say that the absence of home owning sort of millennials and so forth is a problem for society, and I'm sure people on the left think there should be more social housing, and I don't know where the big ideas for that are going to come from. I know in Europe that we've always said that in Europe mostly people rent, and that's just sort of where it's sort of been left here. I think.
I don't think there's anything bad with renting. However, I do think what Rosie's tweet that she's picked has highlighted is that there is such a disconnect between a certain group of people, the entitlement and the privilege that stops you from seeing what ordinary people have to go through. Forget housing. It's let them eat cake kind of married into a kind of vibe about the whole thing. I don't know, is that what because I mean Kirstie, let's face it, she's it's taken the piss about her really beautifully in this. but she can't really understand, like, all the things that
cake's
said,
what
like,
she wants people to. She wants people to not buy cake, but yeah, I know what you mean.
No, she doesn't. But it's just, we keep hearing these comments, don't we? These like kind of outrageous, like disconnected comments about how people should carry on. You know, if you can't afford to build. I mean, I think the electricity, one of the fuel places, gave advice that leave the oven door open so it warms up the room, and wear extra jumpers. Like, how patronising is that? Just lower your fucking energy prices. You know, it's just. Sorry for swearing out there, if any children are listening in.
Yeah, technically before the watershed.
Yeah, watershed, yeah.
All right, now I'm just looking to size up the next tweet. I'm just wondering where should we go from here. So let's have a look, Tarun.
Can we do Tinder Swindler?
But also, here's the other thing: if COVID did a better job and eliminated a third of the world's population, that would have solved the housing crisis. But COVID was just a wussy little virus that didn't take out enough people. That was the big problem, wasn't it?
Bit radical, Tam.
I was like, look,
I feel a mask anti-vax.
I think I was on. I'm on another pod.
When COVID first came out, I was like, oh, maybe this is my chance to get a house if we lose 3 billion people, you know. But no, it just was enough to make me not fly to Disneyland.
Hey, Tarun, we've got a Joe Rogan and a book tweet all in one coming your way. I wonder. Oh God, do we do that now before we? Let's do what we can do, Sajeela, is a kind of medley, as a Valentine's medley. Let's do the James Felton tweet, Rosie. If you do the honours and read this one out, and we'll get into it since I've mentioned it.
Somehow, so he was quote tweeting a tweet that said, "If George Orwell was alive today, he'd probably be in a similar situation to Joe Rogan." And James tweeted, "Somehow doubt George Orwell would be yelling the N-word over and over again before spreading disease misinformation to millions of listeners and then continuing his 100,000 contract." But maybe I missed that bit in Animal Farm. Sorry, I had a notification pop up on my screen when I reached that bit.
That's okay. Yeah, so he's, he's not quote tweeting because he's screenshotted James Melville's tweet about Orwell facing the same situation as Joe Rogan. There's certainly true that Orwell didn't go in for that kind of thing. I mean, it does slightly kind of. I saw the other day there was a story about some of Orwell's work being flagged at universities for potentially triggering students and all the rest of it. But I realised that Orwell is the sort of byword for a lot of people in the sort of free speech world. Orwell may have had problems, but I don't think he would have had those problems.
No, I mean, this is the thing. I do find it funny how George Orwell is being used he was used by Donald Trump's son, who said, if George Orwell was alive today, basically implied he'd be a Trump supporter. So I think everyone is trying to claim George Orwell to their causes, which is brilliant. I mean, I have sort of feelings about the whole Joe Rogan thing, but I do think the idea that George Orwell would be have a Joe Rogan podcast is quite far-fetched.
What you know, if it's okay, can we push you to sort of tell us what you think about the Joe Rogan kind of controversy?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've never listened to the podcast, so I've been reluctant to sort of put my opinion out on the internet. But although I think yes, it's dangerous to spread misinformation, I feel a bit uncomfortable at the idea of artists sort of trying to control what's put on the platform and sort of away their support so that Joe Rogan has to go. I don't know. I just find it a bit iffy because he's not purporting that he's an expert. He's not going on there saying I know. He's having conversations with people, as far as I can gather. But then, as I say, I haven't listened to the podcast. So, I do think it's some ideas about free speech, and I don't know what the answer is really.
When you say artist, I'm assuming you mean
Neil Young
and
Neil Young and
Joni Mitchell,
because we're basically centering one artist, and refutes. I think when you give an ultimatum, I'm going to remove my music. It's like any ultimatum, isn't it? Like in a partnership, like leave her or choose me. It's never going to go well because they kind of just they've gone with Joe Rogan. Sharon, I mean, presumably you've heard about this whole, again, I'm like you, I don't listen to podcasts because I'm deaf and I can't be bothered to spend hours sitting there listening. But what do you feel if you've heard of all this, and what is your take on that?
Yeah, once again, I don't really listen to his podcast. I'm well aware of who he is. I take my Rogan from Seth mainly, so I do a lot of more Seth Roganing. I don't really do Joe Roganing, but it's it's interesting, and I agree with Rosie as well. Like, if he wants to be on the platform, and at the end of the day, we're all allowed to have some. It's an opinion at the end of the day, right? It's his opinion, and you can choose to either. And clearly, there's a lot of people that think the way he does. Hence, he's still on Spotify, right? Otherwise, they would have dumped him. But I think they've obviously paid him a crap load of money. He's got a certain amount of followers, definitely more followers than Neil Young and Josie Mitchell, obviously. And there's a reason. And it's the money that obviously that's made them keep him there. Otherwise, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't really get him. Like I say, once again, I'm like, he's not my cup of tea, so I don't really follow him. But
on the issue of free speech, I mean, surely when we start censoring, I mean, obviously, but not bring in Jimmy Carr situation as well, where if you start, if politicians are getting involved in what comedians do, that's not a good thing. That's not.
No, it's not. It truly isn't. It's really hard at the moment. I think it's really hard for us comics at the moment to say what we want to say because we're always second guessing. Like, I remember we used to say and obviously if something was wrong, we'd pull it back a little bit. At the moment, we're almost too scared to say anything because we're worried of I literally test material out on people, not because to find out if it's funny, to find out if it's offensive. And the thing is, because I don't know what the offensive line is anymore. I don't know where it is in the sand. Like, it's very, very, it's a lot lower down than it used to be. Like, the offensive line in the 80s and 90s was like, in high jump, it was gold medal. Now it's like, ugh. The guy who just qualified.
I think it's a bit like Twitter. It's like if you see a word, and on stage, if you hear a word, people are triggered by it, and therefore they hear what they want to hear, they see what they want to see, and it's like, well, we are not responsible as artists, as comedians, for your personal triggers. We're not responsible for that. So if you find, like, if you see the word trans, obviously that's a big thing. Like, that's it. You must be transphobic. You haven't read or you haven't heard. You haven't really understood what was being said. You've just seen one word and you've decided that this person is transphobic. Let's call them a TERF. Let's not do and dock them. That's a new thing, isn't it? Docking. And I think that's the problem we've got. We cannot be held responsible for an audience that comes in who refuses to accept that the show is not about them. It's not about your stuff. It's just that we're going to say words. Some of them words might remind you of things. And I'm not even talking about shocking comedians. I'm talking about, presently the three of us here, which I don't think any of us are here go out deliberately to offend. We obviously kind of,
I'm a shocking comedian, but in a completely different way, so it's fine.
No, but I agree with you both. I think, I've seen a lot of comics say, there is no cancel culture. It depends what you're calling cancel culture. I mean, I think there is a fear now about trying out certain jokes, just as it's going to be interpreted. I did a sketch which was admittedly quite dark, which was Love Island contestant ends up in Priti Patel's centre by mistake, and it was Priti Patel. A Love Island contestant ends up in Priti Patel's centre by mistake.
Detention centre, Sorry, there's a bit of a skip on your feed, and
sorry.
It's all right.
But the sketch was making fun of Priti Patel and how awful our refugee, how awful we treat refugees. There was a portion of comedians I knew who said that I was making fun of refugees, and I was a bigot, and it was just the assumption of bad faith that I found quite shocking, because you go, okay, maybe you don't get what I'm trying to do, but the thing that I am putting out hate into the world. And I think that tends to happen, that if someone doesn't understand a joke, they're going to go, oh well, they're doing it in bad faith, they're doing it to hurt. When you're going, what, it's a joke, you know.
But surely after a few years, people know your body of work, and they need to, like, so if so it's Rosie's body of work showing hatred. Has that happened before? Is that likely that she's going for, you know, punching down at refugees? You know, it's really a simple, and especially if it's comedians, other comedians, they surely should kind of get that.
Yeah,
but
no,
with Jimmy Carr, we know what his brand is. So
but
why are you getting bitching about getting upset because you know that's his brand? Why would you? There's nothing new to see here. You know what I mean? It's like.
No, I have to say. I mean,
people,
anyway, go on.
Like you said, people. Oh.
No, go on.
Sorry, and I think you're right, Rosie. And I think people are more triggered by the words than the joke itself.
Yeah.
Like I've had that recently as well. I've said a word, and then I'm like, oh, you didn't get the joke. You don't actually know what I'm talking about. Like, yes, I've said this word in the joke, but the joke isn't actually about that. It's about how stupid the person is that doesn't understand it. Like, we're gonna get to a point where, like, I'm gonna say, like, and I don't get triggered by it, but I just don't like it. Like, I'm not a big fan of gun culture, right? I don't like guns. I don't like war. Like, I don't go out of my way to go watch Saving Private Ryan or 1918 or whatever that movie was about war. It's because I don't really like war, right? I just don't like war. And I'm not a big fan of Anzac Day because I think it's ridiculous. And I know everyone goes, you got to, what are all those people that died in war? I just find it horrendous. But I don't sit there every day on the news when they remember World War I and go, well, that triggered me because I hate war. You know what I mean? I think war is awful, but it's always happening. And what if I decide to say, okay, no, I'm sorry, you can't mention war ever again because it triggers me as a human? What are they doing? They're going to stop talking about war now and stop talking about all that? And there's going to be no movies with guns in them because they trigger me?
There was really interesting, I had a psychiatrist about triggering, and she said that the thing is, triggering first came up in psychotherapy, and the idea that, you know, people who suffer trauma, certain things will happen. But she was saying is that what they teach in therapy is they go, look, you're going to be triggered by these things. That happens. The way to combat that is not by telling the person not to say, it's by learning how to deal with it and recognizing how it makes you feel and pushing through. So the whole idea of words that people find upsetting is actually, it's not healthy. It's not something that people in science have purported that we do for mental health. So it's kind of bizarre now that people are saying, no, you know, we shouldn't hear this, we shouldn't hear that because it will trigger us. When 100%. The whole point of being triggered, that you're supposed to recognize it and move through.
No, I absolutely agree with you. But also, I find it very controlling. I think a person who tells you that they're constantly upset, offended by what you've said, is trying to shut down a conversation and trying to manipulate that whole, like, if say if you're on stage and someone said, I'm triggered by that, I don't like what you just said, they've derailed the whole show. They derail the conversation. And I think that we're giving far too much credence to sort of individuals who, I have 1,000 triggers. Jesus, you know, I've been held hostage. There's just so many things that I could like go, but I don't, that's my personal shit to deal with in my own way. I cannot impose that in a room full of people and start, you know, kicking off, saying that I'm offended. I only do that when I'm paid to do it. In Brendan's show, Brendan's show. But it is a real issue, and it's really scary because obviously comedians who don't go out to offend, or comedians who aren't as famous as Jimmy Carr, we don't have the same power to be able to, you know, you just getting booked because you might have one day pissed someone off with something you said. And that's it. Then that promoter gets a bit iffy. I've heard of a recent case where a promoter refused to book a particular person because somebody from Twitter complained about their material that they'd seen, and so to preempt any kind of happening in their audience. And as a fellow promoter, I was really angry by that. It's like, what? Stand by your comedians. Stand by this industry. Do not let random people on Twitter or, you know, anywhere just tell you how to run a club. Who you can, who you can't book. So it is an issue that can go on and on and on. But do we have something else in the pipeline to discuss this?
Well, I have to be very quick.
Is that what they're doing on Twitter? Is that what they're doing? I'm telling people how to run a club. I should go and have a look.
Oh, I'm glad
You
we've
should be engaged.
finally. We
Yeah.
come
No, but what I
on.
also just quick question though, but that whole thing about triggering. But you know when you've always got a friend, that's probably a recovering alcoholic or a recovering drug substance abuser or whatever. Now when you have it, when you sit in at a bar and you go, "Would you like a drink?" They're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm a recovering alcoholic." They never go, "Oh, that's triggered me. It's freaked me out." You just go, "Sorry, I didn't mean to do that," and you move on and you just have a good night. And they're just high on tango or whatever they drink now.
So, right, okay, let's finish on Valentine's Day very quickly. Sajeela, I hope I've still got the tweet that you wanted to talk about, which was I don't know where it's gone, the Tinder Swindler
It'll
one.
be ages.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, actually, Tarun, you had a couple here. In fact, they're both sort of relevant, really. One is from well-known Trump supporter Kirstie Allsopp, that looks like she's kind of copied that from some site. Rude, crude stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you want to read it, Tarun, or can you see it?
Oh yeah, I'll just bring it back. I just thought it was quite a funny little tweet, only because oh gosh, I haven't got glasses. This is terrible.
I can do it if you need.
Read it out because I literally haven't got my glasses.
So it's a picture of a delivery guy handing some flowers to a woman, and the woman's saying, "They're beautiful flowers, but now I'll be expected to spend the weekend on my back with my legs in the air." And the guy deliver it saying, "Don't you have a vase?" I mean, it's right.
3,375 likes and 315 retweets.
It's so ridiculous. I just thought it was the most. I thought it was just because I didn't realize Twitter did jokes. So that's what.
What? That's all it is, apart from the.
I don't know.
Loads of jokes on Twitter.
You do realize I spent a week trying to get back into my Twitter account because I forgot the password. So I just
just for the show.
We pulled you back in.
You pulled me back in. So I was like, oh, this is quite amusing. This is the kind of stuff I see on the website Clang and Bang or something. It's just ridiculous.
You've got one.
Well, I mean, obviously you just thought this was funny, but it has to be said, it's Kirstie Alley who's tweeted this. And Kirstie Alley, who I've always been a massive fan of since Cheers days. I was really shocked to find out she was like a Trump supporter, and she was coming out with all sorts of dodgy stuff. And I was going, oh no! And when you find out, your heroes aren't exactly quite perfect.
Oh, you find that in about 5 minutes on Twitter, if that. But yeah.
Yeah.
But what if she? But she might like James Blunt as well. Then you'd be really in trouble.
I like James Blunt. He's funny.
I know. I'm just joking. He's funny. I do like him.
So you've got one directly underneath. We'll keep on the romantic theme and play this out there.
But are you guys talking about the?
So you got Lucy Z's tweet. I feel like it's my responsibility to warn people about dating older guys. You will no longer party. You will end up spending the rest of your life negotiating with a 40-year-old man about getting rid of his 100+ DVD and CD collection. Is this personal to you, Tarun?
I just think I just believe in society. There's this huge ageism thing that goes on, and I just find it really odd. Like some people, like I believe in hanging out with people with energy, not so much the number of what they are, right? But it's really funny how I think we condition people to think you're this age, this is who you should hang out. Because like some of my best friends are dead, and I go visit them at the cemetery. Did you just say some
of my best friends are dead?
Yeah, I'm just taking the mickey because they're so old. They're just in the cemetery, right? You're just like, they're great to talk to. They don't talk back. They're great listeners. But it's just it's weird. Like I just find it really fascinating that we have this, there's this whole thing about all these isms that go on, but I just don't think people realize how harsh we are on people of different age brackets. And even when we just, like, I hate to say, that word millennial is kind of a derogatory term, isn't it, really? Isn't it? And as is boomer, they're all derogatory terms.
I don't know, millennial didn't start like that, though. There was something, I mean, it's become, but I mean, also we've got, millennials are older now. I mean, we're talking about Gen Z, But it has become,
but I think people use them in a derogatory term.
Yeah, no, that's true.
To make them feel less or make a boomer feel bad for who they were. And it's kind of weird how we do that. And then we all of a sudden, and we always have all these things, be nice to people, do this. But then for some reason on social media, it's like this wild, wild west of let's be horrible and no one cares. I just find it really odd.
Well, we've come a
It's
long
just-
way from where I thought this was going to go. I thought it was going to go with like age inappropriate, like relationships, and dating people out of your kind of age
Well,
thing.
what was that Tinder Swindler?
Well,
was fun.
I'm glad you are. I'm glad you asked because I think I can.
Yeah,
Rosie, can I
There
just
we go.
ask, have you guys watched Tinder Swindler, Rosie?
loved it.
No, people keep telling me to.
Oh, it's awesome. Okay. and
It's
have you
really
seen
good,
it, Tarun?
Rosie.
I've
Yeah,
literally
loved it.
20 minutes from the end now.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
really
so-
good, but you have to ask yourself that one question: when you're getting out multiple loans and you have no money to fund a billionaire, if there's not a red light going off in your head, right, then he's not the one with the problem. You need to go back to therapy because you are that you know.
But
Insecure.
didn't she work at like a business school in London as well? I mean, wasn't that? I'll have to go back and look it up. I know she's London based and that was her job.
But Rosie hasn't seen it at all, and so just to kind of, without trying to give
Yes.
you spoilers, it's kind of a con man, because you know it's a swindler because it's in the title. So it's a con man who basically cons women almost like a pyramid scheme. So he gets money from one woman that he's met
Ponzi
on
scheme, I think.
Tinder,
Yeah.
and then uses
Yeah.
that money to lavish this great lifestyle on the next woman, and then he'll take money from that next woman to lavish a wonderful lifestyle to the third woman, and it goes on and on and on. We're talking millions,
Oh, no.
millions.
Oh.
You know, private planes, yachts. I mean, he's an expert. So this tweet was by Sherlock, 2020. Meet Simon Liviak. That's his name in
Or one of them, anyway.
Yeah, although he has got another name as well. Asking me to get a loan, and she's just like, there ain't no dick that good, and that was so great because I thought that's true. Like, how if somebody, Rosie, asked you and said, look, can you, look, I'm a bit of a pickle and I've just spent all this money and taken you to, like, you know, the Ritz and stuff, but just, you know, I'm good for it, I'm your boyfriend now, can you just take out £100,000 for me to sort of tide me over, and then you take out another £100,000 the 3 days later? I mean, you know, I was just angry at these women. Like, how could you be so stupid?
Me
No
too.
one's dick is that good.
But you know what? I
I
hate
know,
these stories
I know.
because I do. There's another one in the press recently about some guy who tricked some woman to thinking he was in MI5 and she had to go on the run with him, and he sort of absolutely bled her dry of money. And this was an intelligent woman, and it's so awful, these stories. And I'm someone who's pretty gullible. Luckily, I don't have so good luck, Tinder swindlers. But it's just so mean, and like you'd feel so silly as
Really
well as broke, because it's like you know, when your feelings are involved and you like someone, you think they like you. Oh, I just find it heartbreaking. I don't know if I want to watch it.
Yeah, but
You've got to watch it. I
but
mean,
Rosie, they were only
unbelievable.
here's the. Yeah, and here's the thing, Rosie. They were handing over all this money after only 2 or 3 weeks. That's the terrible part, right?
Oh God.
I'm like, I don't ask people out on a second date if they don't offer to pay half. Like, and they don't like, here's the deal. Like, they don't have to pay half. They just have to offer. If they don't offer, I'm like, yeah, you'll never hear from me. But if they offer, I'll go, no, I'll pay. That's fine. But I just have like a base wall. And I'm like, where is their benchmark of giving out that much money? But you've seen the show, right?
Yeah.
And there is a point, I won't ruin it. He does end up in prison for a small amount of time, right? What I would do, if I were those women, I would have gone to the prison and met him and said, hey, you know how we spent $100,000 to give to you and you never gave it back? Well, we're all now going to get out another loan to put a hit out on you on prison. So you decide what you want to do.
Dark,
You can either
Tarun.
pay us the money back. I would make sure that he would figure out a way to give me that money back, or you might as well spend another $300,000 and get him taken out in prison.
What I loved about it, just quickly, is that when she goes to some Norwegian woman who's the first woman that interviewed in this, and she goes to a Norwegian newspaper, and then they look up, because the Simon Leviev guy is whatever his actual other name is Israeli. They find an Israeli journalist, and they show them Googling the journalist, and he's called Yuri, but then one of the options underneath is Yuri Geller. It's like, no, pick him. See what happens there. Anyway, it's well worth watching.
What
Happy
fascinating
Valentine's Day.
about this is that it's all
Yeah.
most of the material comes from the women that he swindled, because they've taken photos, they've got recordings. You know, it's like the documentary almost made itself based on the women's material that they'd already. That's how far or how much we use our phones, social media, that everything can create a story that we've, you know, somebody does anything wrong, we can just go back and, hey, we had this exchange on Facebook, blah blah blah. And it did sort of frighten me a little bit that we do put so much of ourselves out there on social media. But please watch it, Rosie. I think you'll be, then tell us what you thought. It's a shame you didn't watch this one. But have you, what's the closest kind of someone's, not just necessarily romantically, but just generally, what's has anyone ever conned you in any way, or led you to believe that they're one person and there's someone else? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I got scammed in the first lockdown.
Wow.
Because they rang up the HMRC and they said that I'd committed fraud because I'd done my taxes wrong, and that I had to pay sort of immediately, or they said you can either pay immediately or we will call the police and it will go to court. And I completely freaked out and I gave them quite a lot of money. And the worst thing was I couldn't. Because they as well, because they had I said, how do I know this isn't a scam? They said, well, you can check our number, and they checked their number and it was HMRC, and I didn't realize they've got equipment which means they can ape the numbers, and they knew enough about me. They knew I was self-employed and things like that, and also they just panicked me, and I can't think properly when people are putting pressure on me.
So
they were going, you have to do it now.
Right there and then, you just said, they've got that information from your website, I bet, or online. Actually, I think that's probably like a creative's, you know, maybe all creatives should be worried about that, because again, you see, we've got too much stuff out there. I'm so sorry to hear that, Rosie. Did you get it back, or were you? You know what? It took me a year to get it back, because my bank were like, we're not giving you any of the money back because you're an idiot. I mean, they said nicer than that, but that's basically what they said. And then I went to the ombudsman. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's it.
And they were great. They fought my corner, and they were like, not stupid. She was put under pressure.
Wow.
So I got it back in the end, but it was horrible, and I felt so stupid. And I felt.
I think you would appreciate where these women are coming from. Then, I think.
They definitely have some resonance.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about you, Tarun? Ever been conned on anything, or ever been taken for a ride?
Just once when I was in South Africa years ago, and I didn't expect it because it just came out of nowhere. And I was I just landed. I was in the hotel, and we were actually doing the festival then, quite a few years ago. And this guy knocks on my door quite late at night, and he goes, "Hey, look, my wife's gone out. I've just ordered pizza for the kids. Have you got 100 rand? And I'll drop it back to you later on." And I just said, "Oh yeah, sure," and gave him the money.
Did you say 100 grand?
100 rand, which is probably about
expensive.
30 quid, right? Yeah, it was about 30 quid, and I said, yeah, sure. So I gave it to him, and then I didn't think anything of it, and then obviously the money wasn't slipped under my door again, because I just flown in. I kind of a bit of jet lag, and then it turned out I just happened to go to the gym at the hotel, and I was telling one of the staff members of what had happened, and then all of a sudden, about an hour later, the manager comes in with a photo and goes, "Oh yeah, this is a scam that goes around." When I'm like, well, it's a scam within the hotel, because I'm on the 9th floor in the Hilton. Someone in your hotel's let this dude up to the floor, and knowing that I checked in today to knock on the door to ask me for that money, right? This isn't just because he obviously clearly wasn't staying in the hotel. It's just weird, you know.
Wow. So obviously that's £30 compared to, how much did you lose, Rosie?
She doesn't want to say.
I do want to say. That's fine.
It was a bit more than that.
Yeah. But the thing is, I can understand how it can happen, because he was like quite flustered. The pizza man was there, and I'm a man of food, and you know, when kids need food, I need food. You need to get it paid for, right?
Yeah, and also if it's someone official, I think you probably get. What about you, Julian?
I knew you were going to ask. And then usually when people do this, when people do this, I have no off-the-cuff response. But I just realised, I'm not even sure how much I can say, but it involved a beach in Nice. Beach in Nice and some soil, and that's all I'm saying. So yeah, but I was conned. Yeah, but not for very much. I think, comparatively, I'm the lowest scoring con so far, I think. But yeah, what about you, Sajeela? I have to turn the tables.
Do you know what? I can't think of when I've been conned because I'm really suspicious all the time. But I've almost conned someone into giving them more money because I speak Urdu and I've lost my numbers. I've forgotten the language of numbers. And when I went to Pakistan, you're supposed to haggle, and this guy said, "Oh, I want like 20, which translates to 20 rupees for this thing." And I said, "No," because I thought I'm going to be haggling for this. I said, "No, I think you'll find I'll be giving you butches, which is 25." But in my head, I thought it was lower. And he said, no, it's just 20. If you want, I'll give it to 15. And I said, no, I'll give you. And then I added more. And basically, every time he went lower, I was going higher and ended up giving. And my family was just laughing. I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" He said, "No, because it was just hilarious watching you." And so, yeah, I don't know if that was a bit of a. Yeah, I was probably conning someone, but not realizing it. So I don't know if that counts. It was innocently done because I'd forgotten the numbers.
Well, we've shared.
You did. You
I conned myself. Yeah.
We've laughed, we've cried, we've shared, and in Rosie's case, given out bank details. In fact, speaking of details, let's just remind everyone that you can follow Rosie at Rosie is a Holt on Twitter, and I think that's the same on Insta as well, isn't it, Rosie? And Tarun is at if you need to know, on Twitter, Tarun is at.
No, don't. You don't want to follow me on.
Well, what about Insta?
No, please
Instagram's fine.
Okay.
Instagram's fine, but if you honestly at Twitter, I was struggling to find my password.
Please stay there, Julian. No, can you see Tarun Mohanbhai?
Where's the Insta?
Rosie's. Rosie is making some effort. Tarun needs to up his game. Come on, Tarun.
Right, where can we? This is your opportunity to plug before we wave goodbye to our streamers and catch you in the green room. This is your chance to plug your forthcoming live events or any other kind of event. Tarun, what are you up to? What would you like to plug?
We just went into red traffic light in New Zealand, so every show got cancelled. So I'm in my bedroom for the next month. But yeah, good times.
Oh, you do Zoom gigs.
Yeah, but that IndianGuy.com is easy to find.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, good.
So that IndianGuy.com.
There we go.
Yeah.
And having visited you, you are very, very famous with the Maori community. Everywhere we went, they recognise you. Hey, it's that Indian guy. And I was like, they know you here.
I thought your Insta might be here as well. It's not. Oh, well, there you go.
I think my Insta's the same, but it's that Indian guy with my name on the end.
Yeah, with a few underscores, I think. Rosie, what are you up to?
Underscores, yeah, I had to.
Oh, nothing. I don't know. I mean, if I've got any news, I'll probably whack it on Twitter. Everything at the moment is vague, so nothing immediate to shout about.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, brilliant. Well, listen, guys, that's been lovely. I've really enjoyed that very much. We'll be doing some clips and putting them out as soon as we get that done, and also there'll be a podcast version too. So just hang back a few minutes while I sort of say goodbye to everyone, and we'll say a proper goodbye in the green room. So just to say that next week, which is Sunday the 20th of February, we've got Darren Walsh and Susie Bennett in the Zoom room. So please join us then. Meantime, obviously follow us on Twitter and on YouTube, and I could see a few people have done that this evening, so thank you very much, and thanks very much for watching. And I think that's it, isn't it? Well, I mean, obviously, it goes without saying. Thanks so much to Rosie and Tarun, and we'll see you next week. Have I forgotten anything, Sajeela? What about your club?
I think that's it. And you can follow us at LKT Zoom.
Yeah.
And Sajeela Kershi and Textual Healing. Is it
Textual Healing 2? Yeah.
Textual Healing 2. Don't forget the number 2 at the end. And have a lovely evening on Sunday. And a great Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Oh yes, so it is.
Flowers behind me just in celebration.
I should be watching the completing the Tinder Swindler for that.
Swindler.
Yeah. So guys, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
All right. Hang on, let me stop streaming first.